Alright YouTube, what is up? Speedpillar here, coming at you with another chaotic Recode video. So guys, this is the October tournament that I participated in. It was a double elimination tournament. What I'm doing here is I'm actually doing a deck profile for you guys, because what I've been noticing for the last however many match videos, even before chaotic Recode on Untap and Trade Cards Online, is I would just start the video and then show you the match in progress or whatever, and then there would be a real breakdown of the deck, just like a quick 5-10 seconds to listen to the cards. So I didn't want to do that for this one. So this is the Ursus deck I made. It's an Ursus Dagger deck. The reason I did this is I wanted to play a bit more aggressive compared to some of the previous tourneys I participated in. So Ursus with the dagger is pretty self-explanatory. He's got 80 energy. I've got 2 of him. I've got Smilden for my defender, front and center, with a drill dozer. Smilden's in here because he can defend the Ursus. He can defend Vunra and Tafiel, who I have in here as well, because he has Defender Earth. He's got good energy too. He's got nice power, drill dozer, put him at 80 energy. I really like his ability too, just because a lot of times your opponent's location will really turn the tide, pun intended, in favor for them, so that helps equalize that a bit. And you got 2 of those major counters. So in the back, Tafiel, he's just another buff for this deck because of his ability. So Dagger's already giving me +10 on my Dagger attacks. I've got a couple Earth attacks in here. And then, as with any Tafiel deck, you should run duplicate of all your attacks, which I have. So on the second attack, you get an additional 5 damage. Tafiel's got a Chowler to protect from Olmquad and such. Vunra's in here for his ability. Non-Danians control deal additional 5 attack damage to infected creatures. Vunra has an Azazel Mind Probe. I might switch this out later for an Armor of Earth and Might. But either way, Vunra, his only job is to cast Ode to Obscurity and then just sit there and give you an additional 5. So all in all, even if you played, what have I got here? Even if you played 1 Reverberate, on your first Reverberate, it's going to deal +10 with the Dagger, +5 with Vunra, and then on your second attack, on your second Dagger attack, +10 with the Dagger, +5 with Tafiel, +5 with Vunra for 20. So that's what's good about this deck. You can get off attacks really quickly, you can get off a lot of damage. And then in the back, I have Arcane with the Chowler. For those of you who are unaware, he's probably one of the best creatures to use with the Ursus. He's an Opedian Muge, so on the surface, deal 5 for 1 Muge counter, heal 10 for 1 Muge counter. Not a big deal, but then his third ability is he can spend Muge counters from other Muges you control to activate his abilities. And Ursus is a Muge, so that's why this combo works. So you'll normally be spending Ursus' counters on himself in battle, and then once you get towards the end, you can use Arcane's counters. There's other types of this deck where it's all Muges, so that you have way more counters to draw from, but I wanted to do a sort of combo of the 2 types. Let's go through the music really quick. Carnivore's Keening basically gets run in all the decks. Now with current meta, Protect from Burn gives you a last stand sort of thing in a battle. Caster's Warsong, 15 damage if the caster's Muge, so I've got 3 Muges, so that's just some extra burn. Ode to Obscurity, you just pay these 2 counters, infect 4 creatures with Vunra, and get rolling. If it gets Refrain, Denial, or Interlude Interruption, oh well, there's not really anything you can do in this deck. I have Surprising Rifts to get rid of annoying battle gear like Zerium Armor or Olmar's Projector or what have you. I've got 2 Impedium Mugics in here. Melody Mirage, the staple. I could have gone with the second one, but 2 Nazirium is in here for 2 reasons. 1, if your battle gear just gets destroyed and you're in combat, you use 2 Nazirium, you can sacrifice one of the Chowlers or something to bring back a dagger. The other thing you can actually do is if one of your daggers has already been destroyed, like an Ursus lost or something, and the other one is engaged, and say your opponent has Olkiex Apron, they flip your dagger face down, you can use 2 Nazirium, sacrifice the dagger on the engaged Ursus, and then bring back the other one that's already in the discard pile, and the second one will appear face up, which is a really fun combo, and I've seen it used a couple times, so that's really useful. Another thing is if, even if your daggers aren't in the discard pile, if you've already lost with Smilden, and you're getting late in the battle, you can bring back a Drill Dozer, and get some extra energy to hopefully you win that battle. Next, locations. So the thing with this deck is with aggro decks like this, you don't have a lot of protection against like ability decks. So Danian Burn, Underworld Burn, even like Wise Guy's Overworld stuff, those will hit you really hard. So I tried to deal with that with my location. So Dranigus Threshold, Portal to the Past. Creatures are considered past creatures, which means you have no tribes, so you can only cast generic music. So this is another Runic Grove, basically, except this also takes care of things like Kepian and Tangoth Overworld General, and any like tribal ability things. So that's why that's in here, 2 of those. Then I just have Runic Grove, straight up, same deal. Half my Mujiks are generic, so I don't rely heavily on Mujic because I've got all my abilities. Same deal, you want to limit those tribal Mujiks. The 4 biggest tribal Mujiks are Rhyme the Reckless, Melody Mirage, Cannon of Casualty, Unbalancing Battle Song. If you face a deck of one of those tribes, almost guaranteed they're going to run it. One of those things. If it's a mixed deck, maybe multiple of those. Vivid Mirage, always good, just so you can control where your opponent goes. Royal Academy, same deal as Dranigus and Runic Grove. You want to get rid of that non-attack damage because my deck is centered around attack damage. So if I can help it, I'd rather just spend counters on healing instead of healing 5. So this will take care of burn and stuff like that, and then you can plop the Mirage wherever you want. I don't know why I did this. I should have waited till after. Training Grounds wasn't in the actual deck during the tournament. I apologize. It was Siltraw's Mine. This is what I had in the tournament. I changed it after I'd been kicked out, just because I wanted to do that. But Siltraw's Mine was in there. It wasn't a bad idea to have it in. I just, after playing with this deck a bunch of times, while it is good defense for Ursus, because it is a dagger deck I'm running, I didn't face any other creatures with Earth, I think, so it didn't come up. But if I did, then it would kind of defeat the purpose of my own deck, because my deck needs to deal a lot of damage, and if the other guy had Earth, then I wouldn't be. So, on the one hand, it was good in some cases, because I didn't face anybody with Earth, but it could have backfired. So that's why after turn I switched out for Training Grounds. Quickly, the attacks. So it's all Earth and Power and Dagger, and I did it again. I should have left something in. Take that out. I apologize. Okay, so 2 Earth Pulse. I had 2 Carnoan. You'll see in the videos why I took this out after. Muge's Edge, as I said, Ursus is a Muge, so 20 damage plus other buffs with the dagger. And then some other dagger attacks, Squeeze Play, Flash Kick, Xenocentric Wrath, you always get the 20 damage for that. I left in Retaliatory Strikes instead of like Heptagon Hail, because that doesn't really work in standard play because you don't have Nazrin to pick up those counters for you. Power Punch, just for 0. Gravel Grind, it's an Earth attack. You still get your little buffs, and then also just get rid of annoying things like Mandiblore is coming back with Talisman of the Mandiblore, or Battle Gear that gets revived with Bodal's Arsenal or whatever, or just Compost decks, just to take care of those sort of things, and then Reverberate another dagger attack. Okay guys, so I played 4 matches in total, and then you're going to see all 4 matches instead of me splitting it up into like part 1, part 2. And then at the end, I think I'm also going to show the other decks in the tourney because those were posted for us to see. So let's get to match 1. Okay guys, so first match I did, it was me against Ivan. If you're on the Discord at all, Ivan's very active. So Ivan's using an Ani deck here. So first turn, great, he has no counters. I get to cast my O2 Obscurity, no problem. So what he's got is Ani with a Chowler to start actually, 2 Flag Amps, a Nunkhorn, and then 2 Dregoras with, I believe, the Magma Shard. So what he's got going here is he has the Baton of Ani on Nunkhorn actually, and then he had this whole plan to get that to die and then bring it back onto Ani later. You'll see how all that goes. He attacks Smilden with Nunkhorn in Kibu City Tunnels, and because this is a super annoying location that drops the damage on all your attacks, I use Smilden's ability to get rid of that effect, so it's already really useful. So I just need to not lose, basically, and I should be good. I also need to get rid of his other guys quickly so that they don't have too many counters, so they can't like Unheard Melody me and then play the Calling of Ani, although it's still really difficult to actually get Ani to flip. A lot of things have to go right, and even if one thing goes wrong, then it won't work. So we're just throwing attacks back and forth. As expected, he just got all water attacks. You can see I've got the retaliatory strike in my hand, which I'm trying to hold on to, or at least until he gets lower. But it doesn't matter because I can get him down and I beat Melbourne. But of course he had the 3 counters, and so then he comes right back, which wasn't a big deal. I just needed to not lose Snowden on the first part, and then make sure I got rid of the Baton of Ani. So now Silchaw's Mind comes in, so thankfully nobody has Earth, so it's not a big deal. I got the Flash Kick, just playing there for a rate. Unless he does something crazy, like gets some really good attacks first, I should be able to win for these corrals. Got the Geyser Gush. Again, the attacks with Ani can never be that strong, just because if you're going to have to end up fighting with Ani, he's not going to be able to do that much damage aside from having Water 5. I get the Gravel Grind there. And then he's like, I already lost because of that. Because now I can remove the Baton of Ani, and then the whole thing is pointless. So it is concede here. We played after just because he forgot that he could respond to that. But I didn't record that just because this was the official tournament match that we played. So he concedes there. So that's match 1. Not much to say there. Okay, so this was the second match that I was matched up with. Mr. Chiusa was using this Ketak Akalbi burn deck. So I was a bit more worried about this one. Just because this is another aggressive deck like mine. I know the Ketaks have Berithian Axe. Thankfully, Runic Grove was the first location. I got to go first, so I can take out his Raised Trod, who at this point he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counters and a flute, so that's about a third of his counters right there. I know he's got like Cannon Casualty or something, so if I can take him out right away, that's great. I'm not worried about Raised Trod at all. Thankfully, I get to go first, I think. I just got off both Muge's Edge right there. Then he just coats himself with a Fire Ring, so great. The second thing I'm worried about is if his big attacks come up. Plus he's got that Intimidate, which he's going to have, and then he's got the Burn with Ulmars. But we'll see how it goes. Castle Wrathwhack is his location. I think I have higher power, yeah. Smilden has higher power. Ketak has 80 there, you can see. Like, Ketak's an okay creature, he's super rare, he's got high energy. But it's just his stats aren't that good, so you can't really run stuff like Castle Wrathwhack with 80 power. He does get his big attacks there. Thankfully, the location is reducing his attacks and not mine, so I didn't have to waste a counter. He did get initiative and he played Flame Orb and stuff like that, Ash Torrent. So now, I don't really care if Smilden loses, because if I go all in with my Musican abilities, I can beat him. Plus it'll be my location next, so I'm just getting rid of my attacks, setting myself up. Got 2 retaliatory strikes there now. I know he's probably got a Melody Mirage, so I might lose one of those. But depending on the next location, I might still get it off. And then he wastes a Cannon of Casualty there, fine by me. Did I heal? I'm not sure if I wasted anything here. So I just let Smilden die, no big deal. Just getting rid of his Cannon of Casualty with the Gravel Grind ability. And now it's my location, perfect, the Royal Academy, so non-attack damage reduced to 0, so no Ulmar, no Cannon of Casualty, no Improvisational Melody. The only thing I have to worry about is his Energy Intimidate, and I've got 80 energy, I've got the Dagger. Ketak is really slow, so this is one of the few times Ursus is going to win the Speed Initiative. And I just go off into that Ketak. The other fun combo you can do with this deck is if you just used Grand Kai instead of one of these Ulmars, you'd have Intimidate 30. The Ulmars are dealing, 10 damage, so same deal. Probably better because you're getting that every turn instead of every other turn with Grand Kai, but just another combo. So I get the Xenocentric Wrath as well, so now my hand's pretty good. I'm not really worried about losing. He does Melody Mirage, so that's fine. Is he going to play, like, Consuming Flame or something? Oh, Elemental Oxidation. Yeah, that was a problem. Right, so now things get a bit dicey. For Retaliatory Strike now, I need to wait till he plays, like, a 15 or 20 damage attack. Then I have to heal a bunch. So I just play another Gravel Grind. Level 55, plays Gladiator's Fire. Because I've got the +5 with the Infect, and I've got Taffyel going, I'm just going to try to hold on to Retaliatory Strikes for now. I get him down to 5 anyway. He's not going to be able to burn me. And then my next attack, he's just checking for the location. Thank goodness. Although, again, a bunch of my locations stop abilities. I was about to heal there, but then I remembered the locations protecting me from Olmar as well, so don't have to worry about that. I get the Power Punch. Sax's Flute in response. And that takes care of that. So now I just have to deal with one more cat attack. I've got 5 musics left. Oh yeah, the Song of Revival. It's been a week or so since I played these, so I forgot what happens in some of these matches since I'm just voicing over the recording here. So that makes things a bit interesting, but again, I'm not worried as long as I have my dagger. I should be fine. I'm just going to have to deal with Ketek there. So he's in prime position to get my supports, so I'm just going to move up. So if he attacks one of those two, I can get him with an resist right after. But this really just prolongs the match. And Lava Pond, and I still have the Retaliatory Strikes from before. Thankfully I didn't waste those. I forget, but I feel like I had a feeling he might have had Song of Revival, but you don't normally see it in these kinds of decks, just without Kaor or without talking down the Shadow Knight or something. So yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 creatures on the board, and the Cardinal one gets in my hand, and you're going to see this happens a lot just with this attack, like, but I always get it when there's an even number of creatures, and so then you don't get the good effect with extra damage, you get the effect where you lose energy. So that's why I took it out after for Dry Liquid, or actually I could do Ash Torn or something, and then I get the second one there. So that just kept happening where it wouldn't come up at a good time. Now granted, if I win this battle and keep it in my hand, then I have it after, but it's just, in the moment, it's really annoying. I get him down to 10 there. And then I'm just going to ping him twice, just because I want to get it out of the way. And then he moves up his Olmar. I get Silshaw's Mine. He's only got the one fighter to worry about, so while I can't get him right now, I can just get rid of the rest of his creatures, and then it's not going to matter what happens. Plus, I'm also just going to go for his Akalbi, just because as soon as I take that out, even if I had no dagger on Ursus, there's basically no chance that he'd beat one Ursus with a Ketek with 10 Recklessness, let alone 2. So that's just my game plan there. Now I just have to dump the Carnwins, just because now there's an odd number of creatures, so I'll get the extra damage. Just dumps Ash Torrent, and I should dump the Carnwin here if I'm paying attention, or do I hold on to it? Okay, I hold on to it. It's like that around later, potentially. So Olmar's no problem. Move Unra away from Ketek. Move our cannon up, just so I'm closer. But I do want to cut off the Akalbis, so I'm just going full in on that. He gets Underworld City. I'm going to lose our cannon, no big deal. Because our cannon has a Chowler, I can't use his own ability to heal himself, which is annoying, but that's the price you pay. He's dealing Fire Ram right away, so the 30 damage I wouldn't be able to heal that, since I had 30 from his Intimidate. So again, no big deal. Nip and Mirage. Now I'm going to take out his Akalbi, and then I'm going to move in such a way that I can set him up where I want him to go. I was just deciding which Ursus was better, the one on top or the one on the bottom, just for the movement after, to be closer to Ketek, because this will give me Swift 1 and then I can position the other one. So I was just considering that. So I just get the Flash Kick there, I can organize my locations further. Okay guys, so sorry about the first half being a little short, and sorry if the second match got cut a bit. I was having some problems. So this is the third match. I think this is the farthest that I advanced in a tourney. There was actually a guy who couldn't make a matchup, so there was one other match that I should have played. Regardless, I'm now playing a Danian Burn deck, which is quite a step up from the previous two decks, if you're unaware. The Runic Grove, was my first location. So the way this works is you build up, for this deck, you build up a bunch of counters on Nuncorn there. He's got Earbex with the Nexus Fuse. He's got Olm Quads with Orbavunda, as always. And he gets the first turn, or second turn, Dead Water, which is not good for my deck. So my deck kind of bites me here, because I can't play Ode to Obscurity. So I try to bait him into removing counters from some of the Muges, but I know he's just going to take it off our cannon, and then I won't be able to cast Ode to Obscurity because of the location. You can see he takes one of my counters right there, so that kind of sucks. But it's only, 5 damage per battle, so not the end of the world since Ursus is still pretty big. I know he's got at least some travel music in there, so this will help me in this location. But it's just really annoying, especially just this deck in general. Probably one of the top decks. And then you get Dead Water right away. It's just... I considered running Aegis Area for that reason, but I was just more worried about the daggers. And then you can see there, it's the first turn, so there's 12 creatures, and I have the double Carnowin, which is just really annoying, so I'm glad I took that out. I'm really trying to save Ursus here, so I have to ping the Earbeck with the Nexus Fuse for 5. And then I think he sacrifices it on me, which sacrifices him. And then he's gonna try to ping me down as well, just using up my counters with Olm Quad. It would have been great if the Royal Academy came up on the first location instead. That just would have been great. He still would have defended with Earbeck, but I just would have had less burn to worry about. And now he's just going to try to burn down Ursus with Olm Quad's ability, so I have to spend a bunch of resources to try to save him. Because there's no way I can lose Ursus on the first turn. Thankfully he stops trying to burn me down. Just going to save his stuff for later. Nuncorn's trigger, so he loses all his counters at the end of combat. And now it's his location, and it's this awful location. The Riverlands Abandoned Wastes. All his fighters are minions. The remove a music counter thing is a trigger, so there's nothing I can do about that with Smilden's ability. I'm just going to take the counter from Smilden anyway. But once he gets engaged and he's got that annoying -5 ability, then I can use Smilden to take that away. I'm just going to defend with Smilden either way. That's one thing I do with this deck, is just because your location on your opponent's turn, the opponent's location, is probably going to be in their favor, obviously, because it's their location. It's just too much of a tempo swing, so you're probably going to lose Ursus anyway, or you're going to have to spend a bunch of resources, and your hand's probably not going to be that good, because I probably used some good attacks in the first turn. So he attacks Smilden, like, head-on, but I usually just defend with Smilden anyway, like that Ursus up front. I'd probably just defend him if he attacked, just because I'm not going to win, so I'd rather just lose Smilden and then get Ursus on my location instead. Now we're just exchanging attacks. I use his ability, get rid of the location effect. He's uninfected, but I still got off those Carnowins for that turn. I get him down to 15 here, but because he's got a bunch of crazy musics and now he's got a bunch of counters, then he's going to start trying to do some stuff. So I should play the Flash Kick there. In this deck I find it's a lot more important to get off the Flash Kick than the Squeeze play, just because the attacks are pretty consistent with the dagger, so what matters more is setting up the location. I've still got all my music, although one of them is worthless now, unless I somehow get counters on the Vunera, which is not going to happen. Then he plays Mind-Proof March, which is a music that this deck will always have. So he's getting like 25 heal and 25 damage, which is crazy when you think about it. That's even worse than Unbalancing Battle Song. And then I'm just going to try to burn down that Earbeck real quick. He activates Hive to give himself an extra 10, which is just real annoying. It's hard to win. It's hard to win a burst with these kinds of decks just because they have so many counters. So they're just gonna ability spam you to death. Plus he's got the Nexus Fuse, and then he's got the all the music. Thankfully, Perkstork has Dranicus Threshold comes up there. So on my location, nothing tribal can happen with his music. And I know he's got like another Mindproof March for sure, and Unbalancing Battle Songs he can use with the Elm Quads. So now Spilled and Earbeck are at 20 apiece because of all that stuff we cast. And then he's also got Inner Flood going, which allows him to get a bunch of counters on his Ulm Quads. I was worried he was going to take stuff off my guys, but he just needs to worry about Ulm Quads because he's powerful enough. I was worried there that he'd remove it from Smilden, and I don't want to let him play a bunch of zeros and beat me easily. So I'm just trying to keep Smilden alive, make him use some more resources with Earbeck. He's already used the Mindproof March. Thankfully the attacks are helping me set up later battles, like I get Retaliatory Strike there, but if I could just get rid of Earbeck, that would be great. Got the Burning Rain, he's just playing all the zeros, so I know another Dead Water is coming. I don't have any counters left, so it doesn't really matter. I'll have a few. But yeah, these decks are just really frustrating. I played one that had a different attack deck and it wasn't as bad, like I think the same creature setup, but just having Dead Water and having all this music and ability burn is just really hard. And even if you have a deck that runs Headmaster and Kaija, Seeker of the Art, they can just easily burn down Headmaster with the music and abilities, and then your other creatures are still vulnerable. So unless there's a way you need to run like double Headmaster or something, or if the location at that time is in your favor, then you'll be safe for a bit, but once it's their location, then it's pretty hard. And I do lose Smilden, as you see, so now he's still got his 3 fighters, and I just have 2. I get my location. Unfortunately, I think in every battle in this match, I've lost count, I think I lose initiative every single time, just because I have some speed initiatives, and these bugs have 60 speed each or something like that, and I think Smilden lost the Wisdom to Earbeck or something. Maybe I won that one, but a lot of them I lose just because the Danians have higher courage and speed than Ursus. I thought he would defend with the 3 counter one, and maybe I should have attacked him instead, but I just kind of wanted a guarantee win, plus either way he can defend with whichever one he chooses. So I just decided to take out this Ulm Quad right here, so that there's 1 Ulm Quad left after I beat him, hopefully. And then he's just getting his Inner Floods and his Zeros and stuff. He knows he's not going to win unless he spends a bunch of stuff. So I'm just trying to get him down quickly, get to my good attacks. I still got a bunch of attacks left in the pile. I get Gravel Grind to get rid of that 1 Earbeck, which is huge, because Alexia and Nunkwern both have Talisman of the Mandalore. That's how this deck works. You got 4 counters on that other Elm Quad there, which is really scary. And it's my location, which means his is next, so unless I get Royal Academy at some point during this, then it's going to be really hard to deal with Elm Quad. Another thing maybe I should have done with this deck, just because Runic Grove was kind of a meh location, maybe I should have just used the regular Dranicus Threshold, although then I wouldn't have been able to use this Portal to the Past one. But then the other side of that is Ursus could potentially die with a bunch of counters on him, which would be ideal, but you know, there's always trade-offs. Especially since so much of this location deck was just trying to protect myself from stuff like this, which is just so annoying. You can usually either go full aggro or full defensive. I try to go both. But it's just really hard, especially with decks like this. Like, once it's his location, like stuff like the Storm Tunnel here, it just really powers them up. So, Vinra is up top. Vinra is useless. Of course, he attacks Arcannon, because I couldn't move him into a better position. I think the Flash Kick, I could have chosen the Method Mirage, which might have been better, actually, now that I think about it. Hindsight and all that. So Earbeck is just going to stomp Arcannon here real quick. Nothing I can do about that. At this point, I'm just saving Tafiel. Got the Melody Mirage, waiting. Got the Tunazirium in case he tries to like surprising rips my dagger or something like that. Smilden's Drill Dozer is there in case I need extra energy from somebody. I tried to heal, but then I forgot I have a Chowler, so that was annoying. So I got Carnivore's Keening. And then he's just still got those 4 counters on the 1 Ulm Quad, so my only plan of attack here, where he moves, I think he moves Ulm Quad up, is just, if I can beat Ulm Quad with 1 Ursus, great. If not, he needs to use like all those counters if possible, so that I'm just left with these 4 creatures of his and Ulm Quad with less counters. Because really, that's the only thing Ulm Quad has going for himself, is that, and I guess his elements, and he's got decent stats, but that ability is just the worst, as you guys have seen in the few times I've faced Ulm Quad on these matches. Runic Grove again, which was not helpful. I really needed that Royal Academy. He would have probably defended if that came up with Yerbeck, but still, I could have attacked Alexia in that case though. So I just decided this was probably not the best move, just because I could have just dumped Vunra and like gotten a better hand. What did I do? I just go after the Ulm Quad. I figured though that he was going to defend, just because why not, and then have his location, but he lets Ursus go through, so I'm like, alright, well, you're not going to get to use the full effect of that Orb Vunda. You still get the counter, but you're going to be able to heal 10, so deal with that right away. Yeah, it might have been, I'm just trying to think here. We got a few attacks left in the draw pile. I probably should have just gone with Vunra, but then he could have gone his location and just half heal. So I wanted to be as strong as possible right off the bat. He's got 5 counters, getting off a bunch of attacks there. You saw his Unicentric Wrath. He gets Invader's Tactics. He's just going to try and whittle me down, get me to 50 because he's got 5 counters. He can just burn me right on the spot. Reverberate there, I think. Do I have the second one? Yeah, so now I'm just trying to... That's 1 counter off. Got the second counter going. So that was the first Reverberate up in there. So they were both in the bottom pile. Invader's Tactics. Now stuff's getting dicey. I was hoping you'd just play something big and then Melody Mirage it, but you don't really want to Melody Mirage a 15 damage attack, because what's the point of that? Because he's just going to play another one after. So I'm just trying to make Ursus last a little longer. Carnivore's Keening. Again, the Royal Academy would have been great, because then 0 Recklessness with the Carnivore's Keening would have been so much better. But, you know, I put this deck together, so really this part's on me. This is also kind of another reason why I didn't run Training Grounds, because if the Training Grounds was the location now, and Ulm Quad wins, and Ulm Quad gains 2 more counters, and I basically knew I was going to face an Ulm Quad deck at some point during this. It's inevitable, so I didn't want to hand them that. Like in casual play, it's fine, it's fun to run with Ursus, but in this I was like, the chances of Ulm Quad are so high, it's not even worth it. And then he's going to Nexus Fuse me and Burning Rain. And that takes care of that for that Ursus. So I'm down to Vunra, Tafiel, and the 1 Ursus remaining. I'm just going to move him up closer to that. No, I moved him back just because hopefully I can get a showdown going. And then mill my attacks further. I just want to get through these last 3 cards. Gets his location, the Reservoir. He's also just going to need to mill his attacks and get his other Dead Water now, or get both Dead Waters in his hand or whatever. Here was a little dumb, so I got the Drill Dozer. Tafiel has Earth. I tuned Obserium here to get Tafiel the Drill Dozer and just play a few more attacks, but the Swarm of Destruction there, I thought it was 20. I forgot the location gives Water 5, so it was 25. So since my counters are going to be gone anyway, it would have been better to just Melody Mirage that. I would have saved myself an additional 5 energy. Tafiel's not going to win either way. I just want to see if I can make him sweat a little bit and play some better attacks. Which is why I dumped the Earth Pulse, because Ursus with the Dagger will deal 15 with Earth Pulse as well. Because I'm not getting those buffs in this match. And then it's just going to be what locations will come up, how quickly can I get my good attacks, what attacks is he going to have, etc, etc. Play Gravel Grind. The thing with this is, because I know he's got 2 Talisman with Mandalore, if I play Yerbeck before Ulm Quad somehow, and I beat him, I'm going to need a way to get rid of Yerbeck from the discard, which won't really work unless it was fighting Ulm Quad. So I had that in my mind as well, playing the Gravel Grind, just because Irabek can very easily come back in this deck. He could have also been running something crazy like Coral of the Apparition, but those don't usually show up in these kinds of decks. Still chose mine. Again, something else could have been better. If Mip and Mirage had come up here, that would have been great. But doesn't really matter. I know I'm going to lose with Vunra either way. I'm thinking maybe I should have like moved Vunra back. I was just questioning all my decisions after this match just because it was fairly clean the way I played. Just nothing worked out, so I was just trying to scramble, thinking of ways to win. I thought briefly I could beat Olmquad here, or beat the Nuncorn here, but Vunra, the Earth attacks aren't coming up, so then he's not going to deal much damage. He's not a Muge. Do I waste Retaliatory Strike here? I forget. I have no music stuff. I didn't even get to play the Melody Mirage. I only have 15, so I think I just dropped the Power Punch here, because there's no point in wasting Retaliatory Strike in this situation. Yeah, so Vunra is just going to bite the dust with Nuncorn. Thought I'd be able to beat him and get rid of the Talisman, but oh well. Now he's got a Talisman face up, but until that Irabek on the board dies, the Talisman is useless. And then I move Ursus up, thinking, okay, well maybe I can get rid of it, but then of course his Mip and Mirage comes up so he can go in with Olmquad right away. And then he gets initiative. He's only got the one counter though, he doesn't have his Orb of Unda, and I'm just going to go all out, obviously. Gets the Dead Water there, 30 damage. Which is fine since I get Retaliatory Strike right there, right back at him for 45. There's the ability. He has 4 Mujiks left, and I forget what happens. I think, well, you'll see how this battle plays out. Mujik's Edge, that's 20 right there. There's the ability. I think he only used one on Bouncing Battle Song, so he could have used another, but I would have had enough to survive. I think he was just trying to get up to 2, because he had the, I think he had a second Mindproof March. But I beat Olmquad there because he wasn't able to get it off because he inner flooded that counter earlier. Yeah, and he moves Irabek up, moves Nuncorn away. So at this point I'm thinking, you know, I'll have to play Irabek a second time probably. I get the Royal Academy finally, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to get burned. He's already played one Dead Water. So as long as I lose the initiative again, this stupid initiative because of speed. Irabek's got Water 5 and the Fear of Energy, and you can activate Hive and all that, but, you know, we got the Dagger, seeing how it goes. I get the Carnowin. There's 4 creatures, so that Carnowin is useless. And then I get the second one, just like that bit earlier. So this is kind of where I lose. He's at 40 energy. I can play that for 20, and then I lose 10, and then if he gets Dead Water, I'm instantly dead. So yeah, only getting 10 with Gravel Grind really sucked. And then I basically need to draw a Xenocentric Wrath here. Just getting rid of his stuff because I know these kinds of decks run Bodo's Arsenal. Gets the Burning Rain, I'm at 30, so I basically know I need to kill him now. I only get Mujiks for 20, so if I don't kill him, then he needs to not draw Dead Water on his next attack, and then I could be able to kill him, but he's got the heal anyway there with his second Mindproof March. I don't take damage, but he still heals 10. I wonder if he remembered, if he still has Hive. But yeah, either way, this was going to be tight for me to win just because I lost initiative and he gets Dead Water, and that's the match. Okay guys, so this is the next match. I played this with Gilgar here, and he's actually using one of my, not my favorite, but like one of the decks I really like, the 5-tribe Tangoth deck with Nuncorn and the Inna. So it's a tribal deck, and then first location I get the Portal to the Past, which takes away all the tribes. So I can't cast my Oath to Obscurity on the first turn again, but he doesn't get any of the Tangoth effects, which is great. So I basically know I'm going to win this first battle. I win the initiative too, which is refreshing. He's got a Torrent Crinth. Basically the way this deck works is you just got the 5-tribe thing going. Kepian gets plus 50, Nuncorn casts a bunch of crazy music with his Tuning Fork. I usually don't run Ivena. I usually run a second Kepian just because it's 2 big tanks instead of 1. But Ivena proves really useful here, especially it's a good thing to use with Nuncorn in the Inna, because then you can just keep moving counters over to Ivana with the ability, and then heal like 20 or 25. You got Ivana in there too for burn, which is good as well. He gets his location now after I beat Tangeth, the Doors of the Deep Mines. I'm just going to Ode to Obscurity his guys, so I can get that +5, thankfully. And because the location is a trigger, I have to deal with it before combat starts with Smilden's ability. Same deal here, I'm just going to defend, just to, he's going to have the tempo and the initiative with Kepian, so I'm just going to get that out of the way with Smilden and then mill my attacks. He's going to get Ursus, thankfully, but I do lose my positioning there, so I won't be able to attack Olmquad since he has no defender, or I won't be able to attack Nunquarn since he has no defender. Get the Cardinal win again with Smilden on the odd numbered creatures. This one I was really looking forward to, just because well, as soon as I saw the matchup here, and not being Danian Burn, I was a lot more hopeful that I could win. Just getting rid of his Tangeth in the discard pile. Nothing crazy is going on with his attacks so far. He's just got Water 5 and he's playing Riptides and stuff like that. I do that on the tuning fork. I probably should have done it before. I guess he didn't have any, because he moved off with the invisibility. But just to get rid of any crazy music he might be playing. You'll see how this comes up later in the match. Plays Tainted Thunderstorm, which I was not expecting at all. Whenever I see a water deck now, 100% I'm thinking Dead Water Devastation. So I can't even recall the last time I've played against someone who used Tainted Thunderstorm. Plus with Kepian and Tangeth, it doesn't work because you'd have to put counters on them. So I was just really shocked. I play Retaliatory Strike on that. And then he gets the Melody Mirage, which I expected, but just to get it out of the way. Kepian was pretty big here, having 90 energy. Thermo Rings, that's going to deal 15. And then I just let Smilden die. I didn't want to spend a bunch of resources on that one. And then he moves around. Silchaw's Mine is my location. So again, thankfully no Earth matchups for my opponent when this location is coming up. I didn't want to attack Nunquarn because then I'd be flipping his fork back up. So I just wanted to get rid of Kepian because he's his giant tank and he was the perceived threat, although he's got a bunch of counters on his lieutenants there now, so that also got me worried. And he got the initiative too, but I have Silchaw's Mine. I probably shouldn't have played that Xenocentric, because then I think he does something here. Yeah, Rhyme of the Reckless is that, and then I don't want to take like 30 or 35 damage or whatever it is from that. I think I'm at 40 because I had the second one, so then I have to waste a Melody Mirage here because I can't lose an Ursus like this. I definitely should have played the Squeeze Play or something, just because I had the defense of Silchaw's Mine, but I just wanted to get rid of Kepian. So when you suspect, in general, even though they're almost always there, when you suspect a Melody Mirage or Rhyme of the Reckless or something like that, and you have the opportunity to sort of play it a bit more safe, at least when, plus he was still at 90 energy, I think, there. So just try to use your smaller attacks and get them down to where if they let a Rhyme go through, they'd still be taking the damage, and then they'd die, and then I'd be able to heal Ursus. So just try to get off damage to start, usually, to get them down and get them taking damage. Because I have to spend a bunch of counters to heal him with our cannon. And then, what else did I play? Yeah, I played the Melody Mirage. I think I just got the Carnivore Scheming, Tune Xerium, and Cash's War Song. I'm playing him again. Oh yeah, because I'm trying to keep him above 30 or whatever, because he's got so much burn with my Vena. Get the double flash kick. I just want to get one in the discard. I want to see if he's going to burn all his stuff right away, because I still have a bit of heal left. This one was tricky. I usually go with Royal Academy, especially when they have burn. It might have been better to use Mivida Mirage for that setup. Gets the Eidolon advance. And now I'm just going to try to ping him down with Caster's War Song, make him use counters. I think he had already used Ivena's ability at some point, because she had 2. And then he Ivena's again with Naina's ability. My attack again. I just want to try to kill him now, so that's why I used the Flash instead of the Earth Pulse. I don't need Still chose mine. He lets that go through. I think he told me after, because he could have healed, obviously. He's got the counter on Ivana. I think he forgot to count the tap heal damage, which is why he let that pass, because he thought he'd be at 5, which is unfortunate. But good for Ursus. So now I was pretty confident, because he's got really 2 fighters left, and one of them is excuse me, one of them is a Flumorph. And I've taken away his ability to cast Danian Music. Of course, I don't know what he had left, but if it, pardon me, if it was Danian, then he wouldn't be able to use it. So this is where things get dicey. So because I suspected he had a Deadwater in there the whole time, you'll notice if you go back, I was playing things sort of evenly off my creatures with, like, I'd pick from one Ursus for a counter and then pick from the other one. I know I already saw the Tainted Thunderstorm. I didn't think he'd have a second one, which we'll see he did. I should have, I'll let this play out a bit before talking about what happens, but just because of the way the game is now, there's no reason I would have assumed the deck is the way it is. With here's got the second Tainted Thunderstorm, which I 100% did not see coming. I was fully expecting Deadwater, which is why I'm in the position I am now, where he moved that counter off the second Ursus. He played Deadwater, so I have to play Retaliatory Strike. Like, I just gotta do it in the Riverlands too, because he's gonna be healing. And then I usually run Fighter's Fanfare in this deck, and then he's got it as well. So that's gonna bounce that back at me. So there's nothing I can do about that. That's gonna be, it's my own attack, so it's gonna be like 50 damage or whatever. I don't have enough to heal. I think I tried to just use his own counter. I think I have a Crown Wars King left, but he's got so much energy, it wouldn't even matter. So there's that, and now I'm like, uh-oh, he's got 6 music counters. This is a problem. Because I get the location, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not the worst thing, I've got winners left, and then he Melodies me, which this deck almost always has, and I wasn't really thinking about it, just because I was so worried about Deadwater. I was also, no, I knew that this location would be the next location, because I picked it. With the flash kick, so there's nothing I do about this. If I knew he had two Tainted Thunderstorms and no Deadwater, I would have just played all my counters off one Ursus and maybe Arcana a bit, because then I could have left him that other Ursus with enough counters that even with Naina, you have to like Naina and Inner Flood and stuff to get it off. So there was nothing really I could do about that at that point. I didn't have any Denying Music. I didn't have a Song of Shelter. Maybe Song of Shelter would have been the way to go in this deck. But again, there's just, if you pick one thing, then you can't run something else, and then I could have lost a dagger or something ridiculous like that. So at this point now, I'm just down to Taffeel and the boys again. I've still got my little plan with Drill Dozer that I can run. I was surprised he didn't play an Underworld Music. I wasn't sure if he had one. I wasn't sure what my next location was going to be, so I decided to play Tune of Xerium here, while I can still play it. Get the Drill Dozer. And so now, I'm just going to have to go ham with Taffeel and see what I can get done. Because that's the only way I'm going to win this. Thankfully, they're still infected, so I can get vulnerability. There's an odd number of creatures, so I got 30 damage with that Carnwin against Ivana. She's got the Orcusund in there. And because of the location, against this deck, like, it's one of the most favorable matchups you could possibly have with the Portal to the Past. So that's why I'm having some of the success I'm having. I got the 2 Earth Pulse there. I've got Ivana down to 15, Taffeel's at 65. So he can't heal for anything because he has no tribes. So now I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen after. Reverberate there. Was it the second one? Yep, so Taffeel beats Ivana. That was a bit of a morale booster. I moved Funra up. He decides to go in with Nunquorn and Doors of Deep Mines. Thankfully, I win this initiative because of the speed. And so now I've got 20 heal on our cannon. Got a Carnivore's Keening remaining. Then he Grand Kai stances me, which really sucks because that got rid of my Drill Dozer. I was like, I did not see that coming either because this deck wouldn't normally run that many build points. He's got 2 4s and a 3. With the Drill Dozer, I was reasonably confident because he only had 3 tribes. And then he's got the Nivena. I've still got the heal, but yeah, that was deflating. Plus, Nunquorn does have that annoying ability. He still got music left. I wasn't sure what he had. And then Nunquorn was dealing, you know, decent damage with his attacks because they're all like water, fire. I was really concerned about not having him have 3 counters, but then I was also the fact that Nivena has 5, so there was kind of 2 things to worry about, and then there wasn't much I could do. Why did I play the second Reverberate? I didn't want to kill him down right away where I had no option but to get him to like 5 and then I'd be dealing the damage to kill him with the 3 music counters. And now he's going to be burning me. I let myself get down to 20. Got the 2 thing. I should have responded there with heal or something because now no matter what I do, especially since he moved off a counter here, there's nothing I can do to save Taffy. That Earth Pulse does do 20, and then he gets Opus. I knew he'd have a Carnivore's Keening or something, but he just has the heal music. That heals 15. So then he's at 15, I'm at 5. It got really close here, guys, you can see. If it wasn't for the absolutely out of nowhere Grand Kai's stance, which I don't think I've ever really seen in this deck, just because it's like a fire-water deck, I would have had a shot here. I thought he had a surprising Rifts or something, but I don't think he did. I can show you the decks after. But I was really hoping I would win this match and go further in the tournament, just because I beat Nunquorn with Taffy. But he didn't use his counters on Nivena at all the whole match, so he was just stockpiling. He moved stuff onto Ivana as well, just because she's a better ability. But yeah, I played the Carnivore's Keening. Then he can just burn in response, especially with his, he's got his attack going there, and then she's got the 2 more counters there, so I shouldn't have let myself get below 20, but even if I played everything correctly in this battle, I don't think I would have won. He could have also, like, gotten to 3 counters and saved Nunquorn, so that's that there. I'm not going to show the rest of this match just because it's support creatures fighting an actual fighter. Okay guys, so that loss there eliminated me from the tournament because it was double elimination and I'd already lost the Danian Burn match. So once you lose twice there, I was out. So I just want to give you a quick breakdown on Gilgar's deck. So he's got Opus Opposed, Unheard Melody, Run the Reckless, and then 3 Impedium musics here. That's Song of Shelter, Fighter's Fanfare, and Melody Mirage. I usually run like a Consuming Cacophony, but you've got Nivena for burn, so there's no need to do that in this case, I guess. Then he had the classic Gorham's Briefing, Riverlands, Doors of Deep Mines, Everrain. He had a Castle Bodhran, which I think we battled in it, or I didn't show that battle, but we battled it later. And North Range. I usually run double North Range in case you lose a tribe, but he won, so either way. And then he's got the attacks, Burning Ray, Quick Exit, Inner Flood, Flood Force, and then right here, double Tainted, and a Grand Kai Stance to go along with other water attacks. So he won, and then he faced the guy, Balde here, that I lost to. So the way this works is, because again it was double elimination, Balde had won every match of his up to the finals. And then Gilgar won all the losers bracket matches. So for Gilgar to win the tournament, he had to beat Balde twice in a row to win the tournament, and he did. So this Danian deck, double Imbalancing, double Mindproof March, double Refrain of Denial, Bodo's Arsenal, Reservoir, Storm Tunnel Flooding, the Erectab's Foothold, Mipin Mirage, and then a bunch of water attacks, and the double Dead Water, and then the creatures you already saw. But with this mixed tribe deck, which I've played a bunch. I don't play it as good as he did, and I didn't use Ivana normally, but he beat Danian Burn, which is one of the top decks in the current chaotic meta. He beat it twice in a row, and he told me after the way he did it is because of Nivena, and because the Nuncorn doesn't have a Chowler or anything on it, he burned down Nuncorn with Ivena's ability, Nivena's ability, because 2 Music counters right away on the first location with 5 tribes, you get 25 damage, and then he just inned a Music counter over, I believe. That's 50. I think he did it right away, so on one burst, so there was no healing. You can't deny it. There was nothing Nuncorn could do, so that stops him gaining counters. That reduces his ability to play music and move counters on the Ulma Quad. And then from there, I haven't seen the tournament footage. I think that comes out later. If it's already up when I upload this video, I'll link to it. But yeah, he did that to win, basically. I think he just did the same thing twice because this deck doesn't have protection on Nuncorn, so there's nothing he can do. Yeah, but that was really impressive, so props to Gilgar for winning with this deck. The last few tournaments have just been like the Danian Burn decks win or the Wise Guys decks win. I'm really glad that a deck of this type won. Ever since we finished the tournament, I see this deck being played a bunch now. But yeah, this is a good, fun deck. I like that this deck won. That was great. We're almost done the video, guys. This is one of my long runs. One final thing, I just wanted to note that on the Recode home site, so all this stuff is the same. I just wanted to note the Patreon link, if it'll load. So this is just the Patreon page for Chaotic Recode. You can just click on it from the main page. If you're able to, I know it's a difficult situation for everyone probably financially in the world right now, but if you are fortunate and you're able to support Chaotic Recode at all financially, you can support Gerb, please consider doing so on the Patreon. It's a really great thing that he's made and thing that he's done for us, and I think there's a few patrons here, got 4 going right now, but all the money that it takes to do this, like to host this server or however, all those costs are coming out of Gerb's pocket. So if you are able to, please consider becoming a patron and supporting Chaotic Recode. That was all I wanted to say about that. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I apologize for any of the quality mishaps. There's just a lot going on, still being stuck at home right now. I'm Player A. I'm not sure when the next video will be, guys. Sorry about that. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you in the next one.